Hey, friends, we are fearless. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Frances Young, and I am here on my 10th episode with my 11th guest. Before I get into this episode, I want you to already know what your human design energy type is. And if you do know it, fantastic. Pull out your app, pull out that PDF that you got somewhere from someone, and follow along. See if what we're saying resonates with you. How do I better understand this part of my graph that looks like it's calculus or something that just doesn't make sense to you? I'm not a math person. And if you do not have your graph, if you do not know what your human design energy type is, don't worry, I got you. You're going to go to my website at www.francesyoung, FranceSyoung, followed by CPT or catphiliptiger.com. And you're going to go to a page, Your Energy. You're going to input some information, and then you're going to have your human design energy type. And you can follow along. So, let's get into it. This is exciting because I have never spoken to this guest live ever. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll dive into this podcast.
Sure. Hey, Francis, great to be here. So yes, my name is Michael. My official name is Dr. Michael Lennox, and that matters in this way. Call me Michael. But who I am is I'm a spiritual teacher in the world. I'm a psychologist, an astrologer, an expert in dreams and dream interpretation. I live a life of devoted service. I do sessions with people using astrology as a context tool to help with life unfolding. I teach process classes of shadow work and self-investigation and integration and healing for people who are on a healing journey. I put lots of stuff out into the world in the realm of astrology with a weekly podcast and a monthly Zoom meeting where I talk about astrology and the stuff. I'm located in Southern California. I've been in Los Angeles and New York. I'm a city boy. I'm 60 years old. I'm a gay man. I'm single. I'm loving life and live a life of serving others and helping people to expand their consciousness.
That was awesome. Love it. Thank you for being here today. What we're going to do is the premise of my podcast is I have an individual, whether they're friends, family, someone that I just know that I'm going to connect with. And we're going to talk about Michael's human design graph. And he gets to ask me questions. And and I'm like so privileged that he's going to ask me questions about human design in such a spiritual world and realm that's so intertwined with all of the things that you do. I'm going to share my screen live that this is Michael's human design. Okay. We have Michael's human design graph on the video version. If someone is watching this video, Michael has let me know that he has known about human design for 10 years. So I'm the baby in this situation, but this is exciting though.
Well, honey, I've known about human design as it exists for 10 years, but I know nothing about it. So you are the expert and I know nothing. I just have heard of it through people who know about human design sharing it with me, like over coffee or brunch.
Love it. Then this is where you get to learn a little bit more about
I'm
today
excited.
because humans are obsessed with learning about themselves. With looking at your graph, the sky is the limit. When I ask somebody, ask me a question about their design, if there's anything in your life that you're like, how could knowing something about my energy, because human design is a description of our energetic body as well as our mind, and is this beautiful tool that we have now in the 21st century. We've only had it since 1987 is when Ra, the
channeled
it. Yeah. It's only been around for just over 30 years, even though it has such ancient wisdom woven throughout it. Is there anything looking at this graph that you're like, how can I, if I knew more about being an emotional manifesting generator, what would I want to know about myself?
One of the things that blew me away the first and second time that someone ever sat down and casually said, "Hey, here's your human design, and here's some things about what I know about your energy based on this information."
Hmm.
One of the things that has been the most painful in my life is how I approach creating stuff. So here's my experience. My experience has always been that I have something I have to attend to and or create. I sit fallow for a Tuesday and then a Wednesday and then a Thursday, and I make myself crazy. And I used to call myself a procrastinator, and I would judge all of that time where nothing was happening. And then I come to a day on a Thursday and it'd be like, holy shit, everything would plop out on the page like Zeus birthing Athena fully formed from his head, fully formed on the page. And I got to tell you, Francis, even as I described that, even though that would happen to me when I was younger, I still suffered and I called myself a procrastinator and I had so much judgment about that process. Now, I don't operate that way any longer. I'm 60 years old. I've done the work. I'm healed from those wounds and I know and understand my creative process right now. But what blew my mind was that human design can describe that. And apparently, my design type describes that way of creating. Please help me understand how that's in there and that.
Yeah.
And is
Sure.
it? Is that accurate? Did I describe how I create based on what you would have said without knowing that from my mouth?
Yes.
Say more about that because that
Yeah.
blows my effing mind.
I know. Well, first, just start with energy type. Let's go there because that's the
Mm.
basic thing that if we embody what our energy type is of the five, then that's the foundation. Manifesting generators are not meant to be in a box as a nutshell. So, creation and saying that this is the way or the highway on creation in a nutshell is like you don't know when creation's going to pop out of you because you live a life that's not in a box, that doesn't have form, that's just, I'm going to be here. And then I want to walk down the street. And then I'm going to go do this. And then I'm going to study this. And then I'm going to put it all together. And then it'll make sense. Creation is meant to be random or just, it's going to be a spur of the moment. So your energy type feeling like a very spur of the moment energy type out of the five, like just that. I'm like, yeah, amazing. There's other stuff in there too. Right away, my brain wanted to go to the fact that you have on anyone's human design graph, there are always 64 numbers. Those are the 64, they're related to the I Ching in specific.
Because human design is borrowing from astrology, I Ching, and other modalities, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You literally have number one and you have 64. You have the beginning and the end, which is cool. Number one is literally called creation. It's like the desire to always be creating. And I'll also tie it into the fact that it happens to be so too on this graph right now where we can see is we've got black numbers and red numbers.
Mm.
It's specific in this case to the red numbers.
Right, that the red numbers are the ones that are lit up for me because you said one is, and I can see it right there in that lovely center.
Yeah. And one is at Neptune, and it's the planet of dreaming.
Yeah.
Creation, and it's going to be spur of the moment. And if Neptune is like, it doesn't want to be boxed in, it's just got this illusion about it as a whole. The premise of human design as well is to make sure that we're not following this system or the program as to which we think that the world is meant to be operating on. And if we've got this old pattern in yourself that, say, in your past, when you found out about human design, that it described you so well as to, I just randomly all of a sudden can create stuff. But if I try to think the way that the world tells me to create, or a story that I grew up with told me how to create and how your mind was hard on yourself, then you probably weren't able to create.
Yeah. In fact, I have a friend who I'll sometimes call upon to talk things out, one of those kinds of friendships. And it's been bumping into a real challenge this year because I have this experience of creation, even if what I'm creating has logic to it. What I'm talking about is specifically a class where I'm going to be teaching people how to work with transits in astrology. I already have classes that exist teaching people how to read their natal charts, but it's to broaden out my astrology school, I have to expand it into teaching transits, which is much more sophisticated astrology, but the structure of teaching it is left-brained. It's structural, it's math, it's geometry. But I'm a creative. So that means that, like, how to teach it, the order through which to convey the information, I can't do that rationally. Where
Mhm.
my friend thinks I can. My friend says, just sit down with some cards and a pencil and write out the things and make the outlines. No, I would kill
No,
myself
I'm
rather
gonna
than
free
try to do
flow.
that. Right.
Manifesting
And so
generator free
what
flow.
it means is I might feel uncomfortable today and tomorrow and the next day and for a week. And then there'll be that day
Mhm.
where it'll come all out in one fell swoop or in bits and pieces in fell swoop moments. And what I've had to learn is to be comfortable in those fallow moments and not declare them as bad, but just what they are. Right now, if I had only known this 20 years ago, 20, 15 years ago, 25 years ago, I would have been a much happier 35-year-old.
Yeah. And feeling like you're more in the flow of what your energy is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hey, just do
yeah.
this at this moment.
If I think of myself as an artist in my teaching, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I can't always say that to people who would think you're not an artist, you're teaching things. Yeah, but how I create is more artistic than rational.
I just had like my own moment for myself to say a nugget about myself to Michael's creation moment, manifesting generator. My energy type is not a manifesting generator. I happen to be a generator. So I don't have the manifester piece of my design, but I'll describe another piece in a moment. My background is in dance.
Oh, cool.
I did not think that I would be, going down learning about astrology, teaching human design, fitness. I'm
Right.
also a health instructor and have that passion of my life as well. But resonating with the creation of being an artist and just flowing in the moment of how I'm going to teach. Once we're told that's okay, that you do you on that front, oh, it feels so good.
Yeah.
Feels so good. There's another moment that I'll also draw into your design for that question. Something that's fun with human design is called profile. And profile is, to say in a very quick nugget, personality traits that we can equate to one particular zodiac sign. Leo is being, woo, we're just the life of the party. Not always, but depending on everything else in our chart. But Leos are quite extravagant. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, sure.
And so profile, there are 12 profiles. And yours, Michael, is a 6-2. And what that means is if there's a bigger number and then a smaller number,
Okay.
that means that your soul, as Michael, really wants to serve others first as the way in which it produces in the world. You even said that in your intro. So it's like, oh, yo, he's saying his profile. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mine happens to be like a reverse. I have a smaller number and then a larger number. What that means is that for me, my life soul and my purpose is very much, Francis, I do this thing. And what I do for me, it legit serves others.
Oh, got it. Got it. Listen, I've been serving others in that way since the playground. I can remember being on the playground at 7 and 8 and watching social things unfold. I was the person who was being asked about things, and I delivered leadership movement, and I served my community on the playground, and I'm doing that today still.
I love that. The biggest thing to draw in, say, talking about creation and not wanting to feel like in a box, I'll keep going with that theme, is that a 6-2, the 6 is the energy within human design that they call the wise sage or the role model. And that's where that serving first energy comes from.
Okay.
But it goes through these 3 beautiful journeys and chapters of its life, roughly along the timeline of potentially the 3 Saturn returns that someone can experience in their
right,
life.
which I think of as major chapters of youth and adulthood and the wisdom chapter. Yeah. Absolutely.
So even how you create through those different chapters is going to feel very different. I've attained a new level of knowledge. Okay, this is how this chapter is going. I've attained a new level of knowledge and life experience. Okay, this is how this level is going. That with a 6-2, like who knows what you're going to create in the next 30, 40 years that's going to help us all and serve for us. The sky's the limit with all of the energy we have right now that's changing us left and center. So that's real exciting for you. The 2 is hermit energy. The 2 is I am just going to come up with the thing and no one else is probably going to tell me. It's just going to be there because I'm a natural at the things that I know that I'm good at. Then I'm going to give it to everybody, or I'm going to bounce it off somebody.
Is that that's the archetype then of the hermit suggests that through stillness and gathering, we then have something to offer.
Yeah.
It's interesting to even just see the word there.
I know.
On the because I am 30th degree Leo sun. When I test out on the Myers-Briggs, which I did my doctoral dissertation on, the first letter is E or I, introvert or extrovert. I test out at a 98 of the 100 score of extrovert because I am aligned with the outer world. Like most people don't know what introversion extroversion is in the psychological place. People think that extroversion is you're gregarious and you like parties, and you're introverted, you're shy and you don't like parties. And that's not at all what it means. It's about being oriented towards your outer world or your inner world more. And I am fully oriented to the outer world in a manner that is fully extroverted. And I am behaviorally, especially in this chapter of my life, the biggest introvert ever. I can't do social scenes. I don't like being with other people. I need incredible amounts of rest and restoration after I have done great output. So when I saw that word hermit there, I was curious about what that was going to represent, because the older I get, the more I operate in a hermited quietude, small sort of life where I get to manage all of my needs. And then I choose what I go out and tether into social and connected settings. Whereas when I was younger, it was much more the movement out in the world. And the older I get, it gets really small in a way that serves me.
Yeah, that's so cool. The 6 coming from the first part of your profile, it's aligned with those black numbers you can see on the screen. So that's the black numbers in this particular graph are from the moment that you were born. That represents mind within human design, how Michael sees himself. The 6, the wise sage, I've done a lot of different things and now I have all this wisdom and now I get to pass it on type of energy. And the red side is representative of what in human design is termed as design date, or it's actually when we are still in our mother's womb, which I think is so cool.
Oh, so it's not about after, it's about before. It's about foundation, about inner. Oh, say more.
Yeah. And when you're like body, I was like, okay, I have to go there. So with that being the unconscious, or more tapped into unconscious, it's also another nerdy thing to say with human design. It's when the soul implants within the human body as well.
Oh, meaning the idea is that the physical experience of creating the vessel starts at the moment of conception, but that there's a moment when the soul enters, and human design describes when that moment is?
Yes. And it like gives it it gives it a rough day and time too, that you can even see on this graph, and it's in May. And
no way. Yeah. All right. I have to write this date down because I'm going to look into that date astrologically. May.
Also, I know that you're a Sag rising, and that's the Sag full moon this year. Yo, oh my God. That's amazing.
That is true on that date. Okay.
Yeah. Yo.
All right.
Cool. Okay. So what I was going to say with the fact that it's the unconscious, and it's when our soul, so to speak, implants within the body, and the last trimester, third trimester, that rapid growth really happens before a baby is born. It's linked to our body. It's linked to how our body needs to do its thing and tells us without even telling us, hey, you need to rest a little more, Michael. The natural. I need to be by
Mm.
myself more. Throughout our life, when we learn how to listen to ourselves more with whatever modality we're using these days. In this case, now we also get to use human design. I'm not surprised that now you're like, oh, yeah, my body's telling me to do this, which archetype of hermit and be by myself more in certain ways.
Is it then possible? Because here's how I contextualize what you're saying to me is this,
Mm.
that if there's material about who I am that is downloaded more deeply in the unconscious, and we grow in age and wisdom as we unpack our consciousness, that the older we get, the more aware we are of what's in our unconscious impulses. It's one way the world of psychology might describe coming to a place of knowing who you are and an integrated experience. And that those things that are more deeply installed in our unconscious can be things we discover and marinate with more the older we get, because we're older and wiser. Like, I'm better at being a hermit because I'm older.
I would say yes to that. And I've never had that question before, but I'm like, yes. 100%.
Well, it's what makes sense to me when I
Yeah.
consider my life and the arc of it and how I related to role model tremendously in the beginning and much more opposite hermit first as I've gotten older. Because
Tap into
without
your
the
unconscious.
protection and the rest and the restoration, I can't serve.
Yeah.
And daddy needs a lot more rest these days.
Yeah. Just, I feel like everybody needs more rest these days and more stimulus around
Yeah.
you, but I can only imagine it being like,
Yeah.
I need to dedicate time where
Yeah.
and when and to how many days I sleep, if
Yeah.
more than just numbers of hours in a day. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Let's do another question. That was so many great tangents. Where are we going to go next?
I want to talk about the body and energy.
Yes.
Partly because you mentioned that you were a dancer.
Yes.
And I will tell you that I, it's what I wanted to be more than anything.
Mm.
I am a singer, I'm an actor, I can move well enough. I could have had a Broadway career, and I had an agent and a good sort of entree into the Broadway world. And at 25 years old, I left the business. This has got nothing to do with the story. The point is that from the beginning of my life, my body has been a source of an outrageous amount of like pleasure from activity and movement and dance. When I got my 23andMe done, I
Mm.
found that I had an elite athletic gene, which made sense because it's in the family. My mother was so talented athletically, if that she had been not born in 1935, she would have been a professional woman's athlete. She was that good. Now, I had no talent. I can't throw a ball. I was never picked last in gym, but I was always picked third to last. So that's where I was. I had no skill as an athlete, but I have a love of moving my body in an outrageous physical way. In fact, my favorite decade was my 50s. I did CrossFit.
Yeah. Okay. We can go down the CrossFit rabbit hole. I also coach CrossFit.
Baby, I was Mr. CrossFit from 50 to 58. My
Yes.
body needs different things right now, but the level to which this body likes that level. So when I saw that 23andMe thing, I was like, that makes sense. My body loves something that is not unique to me, but definitely different than the average experience.
Unique to you for sure.
Right now, I'm also having an experience of chronic fatigue. I have an autoimmune syndrome that COVID amped up. Like, I had it, it's called Sjogren's, and it's got like dry eye, dry mouth, itchy ears, and fatigue as symptoms. And I had that at a level of like 2.5 on a scale of 10, and COVID turned it up to about a 6. So I have a long COVID experience, which includes lots of fatigue, lots of need to rest. So I have this very interesting relationship with my body and energy that is quite both numinous and fabulous, but at the moment in my life, also a struggle because of the need for more rest. What does human design say about my relationship to my body and energy?
Oh my God. This question, there's going to be so many great tangents
Oh, yay.
because we have so many things in common about it. Oh my God. We'll start with
No, I love that you were a dancer and that you coach CrossFit. My virtual assistant is a CrossFit chick in Ohio. So it's like we are like, she tells me her PRs and oh yeah.
Yeah, vibing on
Anyway,
it.
Back to the conversation.
Back to that. I will say, in an aside, I competed in CrossFit, did all the things. There was a moment where I could deadlift almost 350 pounds.
Damn, girl.
Yeah.
And listen, deadlifts and squats, baby. My barbell is right back there. I need to get back to the energy to do my deadlifts and squats. Anyway, back to human design. What can I learn and know about my
energy type? We'll go back. We'll go through some like basic things and then see where else we go. Manifesting generator energy type has the sacral center going on. So on a graph, what that center is this one, and it gets to light up now through this system. And sacral center or sacral chakra, with regards to the way that we speak about it in human design, is linked to our guts. It's linked to our sex organs. It is as much as like authority for you, Michael. You've got an emotional authority. So there's some other stuff like happening with that. It very much knows what it likes and what it doesn't like, if anything. When a being has sacral center defined, the generator and manifesting generator knows, like you knowing that you love dance, regardless of what stage in your life, you're like, this is amazing and I need this.
Yeah.
The manifesting generator or generator is, if I don't do these things I love in order to excite this sacral, then literally your energy will get drained. Like you just won't feel as yourself.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I had a bit of a hiatus so I danced from when I was 7 until I was 21 with regards to obsessive amount, went to professional school, went to university. Then I had a new chapter in my life and I became a personal trainer and I didn't dance at all. But then I got obsessed with CrossFit. So I found something else and my body was like, yeah, this thing, it makes us feel so good. And then now, literally since October, I have now switched again after almost 10 years. And I'm still in this like trainer moment and training when I can in my garage. But now I'm like doing flamenco dancing again. And I have a show this month.
Oh, fabulous.
Like all of a sudden my energy and my sacral is way more me than it has been in a really long time, for like probably close to 10 years, which is also insane. So to link into this sacral, where the sun is when we are born, and we know as like astrologers and lovers of the sky and what it says about humans on Earth, in the human design sense, the number at the top of anybody's graph, in this case for you, Michael, it's number 29. It's also crazy how we have the same one, but mine says 29.1 and yours says 29.6. Yep. 29 is, because every number has an energy about it, what it means. 29 is, it's called the commitment, wholehearted. It's all in or it's all out.
God, that is so true. So true about me. All in or all out.
Yeah, I feel you. I get it. It's a lot. And it's so, I love this thing and I want to do it. And if it doesn't happen, it literally breaks us in two. Also, like Leo, if it's not working, we're like, no, why? It's not working. Keep hitting our head against the wall kind of moment. Anyways, it's across from, this is where I'm going with this tangent. Number 46. And number 46 is in the G center. And G center in human design is linked to direction, like where our soul is telling us where to go. Best way to put it in a little nugget. 46 is the number of the power of the body, or the love of the strength of the body and what it is physically capable of doing. And when I see anybody that has 29, just like me, I also don't have 46. But yet I'm a dancer, I'm a trainer, I do all these physical things and just being obsessed with getting into stuff. I'll link it to the fact that your G center is white. This is one of my favorite things to talk about in human design. Any center on a human design graph gives a human clues as to where they are naturally even more empathic than the way that humans are, just as a whole.
Typically, right?
Yeah. And a white center is a sponge. If someone has a white directional center, they're potentially meant to go in lots of different paths and directions. And for the love of moving and being committed, not having the 46 and a white center. I'm like, this is probably why you've tried so many things, but yet loved this in this direction. Maybe that wasn't quite right for that stage, but then you tried CrossFit and then that was right. And that was awesome. And then other life things get in the way and it's, hang on, okay, maybe now something else. Or now it's time to do rest or just less vigorous amounts of the things that you still really love.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. In my fitness journey over the last years, I had this experience right about at 55. So about 5 years ago, I did this weekend thing where I did a performance with a dance company called Diabolo that does physical gymnastics-y kind of dance stuff for the 100th anniversary of the LA Philharmonic. So it was a street fair day. And so Diablo was going to do this dance piece every hour for 6 hours. And the only requirement was you had to be able to carry around a 50-pound crate, like a box.
Yeah.
I was like, I can carry around a 50-pound box. Like I could do that.
Like deadlifts.
Now,
So yeah, of course I can.
Yeah, exactly. But what I didn't realize that it was like an 8-hour day of rehearsing, carrying around a 50-pound box, a second day of 8 hours of rehearsing, carrying around a 50-pound box, and a third day of performing, carrying around a 50-pound box. And then that Saturday, there was a competition at the box, my CrossFit box. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm not canceling the competition. I'm going to do both.
Oh, no.
So that weekend was wild. And of course, I loved every single person in that room came up to me at some point and said, "You're how old?"
Yeah.
They say you're 55. I want to be you. I was like, so just over the moon with my Leo.
Yeah.
Yay. Say more nice things about me. And it was really interesting about that weekend was I couldn't walk on Monday and I could barely walk on Tuesday. When I say I couldn't walk on Monday, I'm not really being flippant. Like I couldn't quite function Monday physically. And in the months that followed, I could hear my body asking for less. And at that moment, my gym introduced a new class that was a combo of straight weightlifting and then like a 20-minute HIIT workout. I was like, my body's asking for something that the world is literally giving me. And then about 2 years later, it was like, you know what? Even less. And the pandemic closed the gym. And I turned into what I called Lennox Driveway Fitness. And me and a buddy did 3 mornings a week, working out for 2+ years.
Yeah.
In 2020 and 2021.
Amazing.
So I'm in 2021, and I hear in my clairaudience, yoga. And I say back, fuck you.
Yeah. No.
Like, I keep hearing it, yoga. And I'm like, I don't like yoga. I've been doing yoga my whole life, by the way. So just so you know, I've been practicing yoga my whole life, but I hate yoga and I love CrossFit. In 1 week, in 21, after for 6 weeks, I'm hearing yoga. My workout partner tells me he's moving to Boston. And the big house where I'm in a guest house, which is was at the time a group home of 6, 7 people living in, they said to me, "Oh, Benji's moving in. He's a yoga teacher." Yeah, no. So I've been studying with yoga with Benji for 2 years every week. And so what I'm sharing all of this story with is that my body really is telling me I want and need something different. So now my question to you is, okay, now I'm in this place where I'm at this low level need to work out at a lower level, but because of the fatigue challenges and a rough spring emotionally, Saturn on my Chiron, I'm not working out at all right now. I'm in the all or nothing. I'm in the nothing piece. I do yoga once a week with Benji, and I do a hike with my gang every Saturday, and that's all I'm doing. And I'm unhappy because my body feels turned off in a way that's not natural to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how do you deal with that?
So I'm not talking about rest that I need. I'm talking about the motor got turned off. Does human design tell you how to tell me how to get it back turned on?
Yes. With a little like question mark at the end.
Say more.
Because I think this is literally to now even put in my moments of why the hell am I combining human design and fitness?
Yes.
Now I
Why
get
are
to
you?
say this because as a personal trainer,
Mm.
every client ever has always asked me, what should I eat? When should I work out?
Yeah.
What should I be doing? Even when I am programming for them and we're in a goddamn session. Hey, should we do something else? I'm like, excuse me, who's the trainer?
That's right. I'm programming for a reason.
And human design gives us these answers. And it is like on this graph right now, we could go into talking about your digestion, Michael, as well. We could go into the types of environments that support you because it talks about that. How the fact that we've talked about passions and sake for manifesting generators and generators. Side note question. Did you like, I know that you said squats and deadlifts for a second when I was like, oh my God, deadlifts. Anybody that I've seen and or talked to that one that's a manifesting generator and two has in your graph sacral and root, that bottom square colored in, they're obsessed with deadlifts.
Really? That's
Yeah.
so funny.
And I've literally tried that out with a manifesting generator client that has a similar design as yours, not the same, but similar. And I'm like, oh my God, we are seeing parallels. The way in which I train, let alone dance, let alone just movement, because we all know humans need movement, and incorporate it with their designs actually is giving me the answers to the it depends that I have literally been searching for my entire life. This is why human design, when I found it, I always say it so plainly, it blew my fucking mind because it gives us this answer. So my first thing is going to be, and this is where I think I'm going with human design, is that because of how the intuition comes through my body through dance that I've been realizing lately, also through some of the healing that I've been doing for myself with certain practitioners over the course of a few years, is like, Fran, keep dancing. Something's coming with the dance and the design, the dance and the design. I think I'm supposed to create some sort of thing that encompasses intuitive movement to just not scare the non-dancers out there, and understanding how that taps into certain chakras and then comes out with like certain things through our design.
Right.
My first thing is going to be for you, Michael, to say like, when do you dance in your day? Do you have a favorite song right now? Dance the heck out of it. And for the amount that your body is like, this is what I can handle today, because I always tell people to do the body scan check in moment. But honestly, putting on, this is what I do all the time, and then people really respond to it, is on, say, whatever social media platform. I'll be filming whatever song is jiving to me that day, and I'll film it on my computer. I'll film it on my phone, post it on Instagram, post it somewhere. People can see my energy raise up and they're like, hey, yo, something's going on there for you. And I'm like, yeah. So maybe your own little dance party.
My own little dance party. Listen, I am down for trying anything. And the idea of opening up my Spotify and just starting with put on a song and dance and let whatever happens happen. I'm down for trying that.
I'd say start there because your body is going to refine that strength again. I go through one of my ups and downs moments as a trainer and just wanting to serve and feel like that person is getting the most out of a session is if that person happens to leave me for whatever life circumstance is going on. I am like put down with shame of, oh my God, I didn't help them. Oh my God, it's me. Oh my God, it's me. Oh my God, it's me. And we're getting better at releasing that story, much better, and letting it flow with what's just happening, even in my life too. And so many clients have still come back to me over the years. Once I released that story and I was like, yo, amazing. So I know the client then to relate to your body will find the next chapter of, yeah, I've got the strength to go dance again. And I've got the strength to lift my own barbell if the moment's going to happen. Right now, it's just in that hermit phase being like, dude, you burnt me out.
That's right. You burnt me out. We got to rest. Listen, maybe dance is what lifts it up and gets some movement wanting to happen from the inside out of my body. I will say, though, this thing about the association that you make with my design and deadlifts, that's just bizarre because I identify with that. I identify with it from my memory of, I still can remember what it was like the first time I reversed my grip. Because my deadlift weight got too heavy. Even just that, I can still remember the moment of going, oh my God, if I put my left hand out and my right hand down, I have more strength. I can still remember that from 7 years ago.
That's
And even
amazing.
just the thought of, I have had this thought, Michael, if you only do deadlifts, that would be fabulous.
Mhm.
So between dancing the motor open and deadlifts as a go-to, I'm going to put some effort in that direction.
Yeah. Or just like letting the body be like, today, Michael, is the day. And in this case, your emotional authority being like, oh, if this is the song that's emotionally getting me in the moment to deadlift, then I go deadlift. Woo! Because at the end of the day, our authority is our body through human design telling us what we need to be doing. Okay. Last question. I know that was going to open up a whole other rabbit hole of questions another time, but in this moment, third question.
Okay, I have to make a choice.
Yes.
So anxious attachment in relationships is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am anxiously attached through a childhood of some real trauma and violence and chaos. Now, I have a commitment to healing my anxious attachment down to the bottom in the basement where it lives. If I take a measure right now of my attachment by answering a long questionnaire, I will test out as securely attached with a subheading of avoidance. Because I'm 60, because I'm integrated, because I know who I am,
Yeah.
and because I understand how I live in my body and connect with others. I am not actually anxiously attached compared to most people who experience anxious attachment or who I was in my 20s and 30s and even early 40s. But I have this commitment to not only heal my own down to the deepest level, but to also be able to teach about the healing process as I've learned it, so I'm in the process of hopefully launching this class this fall.
Amazing.
So I guess the question would be, what does my human design say about insecurities and terror that can live in the unconscious, maybe generated by trauma? This is my language, obviously, generated by trauma, that shows up in adult life as anxiety around the connection to other people as being important for our well-being in a way that it is not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There are a few tangents that I know that I can go on, and I'm like, where do I start? So we'll start from the beginning. Energy type, manifesting generator, because manifesting generators it's a soul path that's literally never been done before. So regardless of a potential past life, this life right now of Michael manifesting generator emotional authority hasn't been lived in this way before.
Okay.
So manifesting generators sometimes have this conditioned complex or an environmental grow up complex of, I need to follow the ways of the world. I need to go to school, get a partner, do the thing. Then I'll be successful. The way that we think life is linear. Manifesting generator life is not designed to be linear.
Yeah.
So like that relating into anxious attachment, and I even draw in 29 of this desire to commit, and you've got the 6 going on. It's, if I'm not committed to this linear thing that the system told me to do, X equals anxious on the things that if I have to pivot, why the fuck do I have to pivot? But I have all the energy to do it because I'm a manifesting generator. And manifesting generators, they do actually have a lot of energy unless they've somehow burnt out their system from overcommitting in certain ways, because it's a thing for any human, let alone manifesting generator. But that's even like just a base nugget about anxious attachment. Also, anxious attachment. And definitely more on the secure side. However, that's where we began. And it's funny. I was actually like sending the first book I ever read on anxious attachment and just attachment style in general. I forget the author's name, but it's the book with the heart magnet.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
That was the very first book that I ever read on it. I actually just recommended it to somebody the other day. So that's interesting that you bring it up. That is the first nugget. So in your specific design, Michael, that one.
This is the book I got to get me ready for the class.
Amazing.
I actually haven't cracked it yet, but
I love, oh my God. Okay. So many full circle moments of being like, this is aligned.
yeah.
So I'm going to talk about two things I haven't spoken about for specific that is in your design. There is a little center that everybody has. It's the heart center. Heart center is ego in human design.
Okay.
And I love talking about ego in human design. I just like talking about ego in general because the concept I find so interesting. You can go in so many rabbit holes. But you have some numbers in there, but the center is white. So going back to the sponge, 70% of the world population has an open ego in their human design. And what that means for us is that we actually don't have to prove ourselves to the world. We are, I make the sentence, we are actually worthy. Our body knows how to be its most grand self. It knows when to do things. But the world has put it backwards on us to be like, we need to prove ourselves in every scenario of life that we're good enough and we should be achieving and doing this. Yeah. So
That's
also drives
huge for me.
anxious attachment.
Yeah. Okay.
Also drives that.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just got gobsmacked. I just made a connection between anxious attachment and the impulse to have to prove myself. That's fascinating. They relate. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's bonkers how your design has that the chart doesn't lie. And then in human design, we do get to look at the spleen. And spleen in human design is still fight or flight aspects of how our body is aware. It's an awareness center when we speak about it in the human design context. And with it being colored in for you means that, okay, Michael's got some like, he knows these certain moments of, I need to do this thing, or I can tap into this, or we can also say intuition, but it's a little bit of a sidebar. But I use that term roughly when I talk about spleen. Mm-hmm. But again, a defined spleen, even though it's not a white center and soaking it up, we still, with spleen and anxiousness and this moment of do I go or do I not, can sometimes feel like I don't know what to do when we are in an anxious place that was either pre-programmed or we're trying to get out of our head and get into our bodies about what is actually real in the moment for that tangible situation. I have an open spleen. It's a completely different experience, and mine gets filled with everybody else's hits.
Right. That makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah. And I have to know what's mine and what's someone else's. I have actually like a fear of letting go. So that's my reality with that. But still, defined spleen, even if you've got the hit of, yes, I know the thing, then it might just question itself over and over and over and over again on then creating an anxious story in the head or body, both.
It's fascinating. Got it. Very interesting.
I know, it's insane. And I'm going to do the moment of, oh no, we have to wrap up.
Yeah, we do.
We've done all these beautiful random things. I love that you're a dancer and CrossFitter. And this is why I just knew I had to have you on the podcast, even though I've only connected with you through watching your Red Robe Astrology moments on Instagram.
Oh, that's how this happened, right?
That's how this
just
happened.
Reached out and said, will you? And I said, yes. And I'm the first sort of stranger.
Literally. But this is the cool thing about human design, let alone energies that we can literally tap into through the internet. Thanks, internet.
That's right.
Is the fact that our sun gates are the same, and somehow it's freaking cool. I don't question it anymore, because if I question it, then I'm not listening to my design. So
that's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Michael. It was such a pleasure.
Such a blast. Thank you for having me.
And so, to wrap it all up for the day, here is a Fran frequency just for you.